Hi, and welcome to another Book Talk with Tracy. Recently, I've been doing some interviews with other authors, and I thought I would share them on Book Talk. We've been talking about a new anthology that's coming out, and I had the opportunity and privilege to interview several of the contributors to that anthology. And so I thought I would share those interviews with you. I really hope that you enjoy them as much as I enjoyed conducting those interviews. So, without further ado, here's the next book talk. I'm very excited today, and we're going to be interviewing Graeme Connell, who is a contributor to Inscribe Press's latest anthology. And that anthology is called Creativity and Chaos Artistic Endeavors for Trying Times. So, welcome, Graeme. It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah, well, good to finally see you in person.
Yes, yes, I know. I've seen your name and within our organization and things like that, but it's true. We are a Canada wide, so we don't always see one another face to face.
Right.
So I see I was part of the selection committee or the, edit submissions committee, whatever, and I have this feeling I may have read your piece, but I'm not 100% sure. So your piece is called A Changing View. And I also saw some really lovely photographs that you sent of it looks like your backyard garden or whatever. So tell us what is this piece all about?
Well, I sent you the pictures so you got a visual of what my piece is about
Nice.
and where my little cabin in the garden is that where I write most of the time, or a lot of the time. But I've outfitted it all just purely to be a writing place. And so I was gazing for the anthology, I was gazing out the door, and that's where I got my inspiration from, was the garden and what took place in the garden and various aspects of where my strange mind went as I looked out the door.
I have feel a small amount of envy, like to have such a lovely, secluded kind of separate spot for writing and for those creative endeavors. That's really awesome.
Yeah, no, we like it. And then I even get thoroughly spoiled where my wife may even bring me a coffee or a sandwich, or depending on where I am, or we escape to the garden and have lunch on a sunny day.
So tell us like a changing view. So that title implies that like you're watching as nature unfolds, or what is that about?
Well, I look at the garden out the door, and then I dream about. I'm a dreamer. I dream about what takes place there as we look after the garden, or my wife looks after the garden, and how that translates to my my view. I even imagine a dinosaur peeping over the fence. I'm looking for an angel to be maybe sitting on a stool, or an angel coming by to inspire me. And so I look to the garden and think of things that are happening there or that have transpired there that lead me back to the keyboard.
What I do actually, as you're describing, I do actually recall reading your piece now that you say that. Yeah, because when you said about the dinosaur and the angels, like, oh yeah, um, because it is in the fiction category. So one of the lovely things about this anthology, it is a collection of a variety of genres. So we have fiction, we have nonfiction essays, we have devotionals, we have poetry, we even have some humor. But yours is definitely because it is very imaginative, right? So you're not just describing, the beauty of your actual garden, but this is total inspiration. And like you said, you're a dreamer. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's what we see, and it reflects probably in the book I'm writing at the moment. I imagine my character in various places and with various people, and how that all translates back to the wonder of faith and how we can rely on our faith to be inspired.
Mm. So tell me a little bit more. You mentioned a book that you're working on right now. I do know that you have several books published. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah. So tell us about the one you're working on right now.
Well, it really, the protagonist is now a young man in his 20s, but he survived miraculously a light plane crash, in which he lost both his parents. They were off on a trip. His father was a very experienced pilot, and anyway, they crashed, and then he was found crunched in the back seats by the rescuers, maybe 2 days later. So there wasn't much left of the poor fellow, and so he was rescued and went to a couple of foster homes, and he loves his foster parents who've got him through his nightmares and his voices in the night and things that continue to trouble him, and they're still troubling him as the book progresses.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm only dealing with about a year of his life in his mid-20s. He went basically he left Canada. His parents were both New Zealanders,
Okay.
and grew up in Grand Prairie, was born there, and he left Canada and his foster home to study rhododendrons in New Zealand. His holiday occupation while he was getting his degree at Olds College, he met a New Zealander who told him about the rhododendrons in this particular place in New Zealand. So off he goes, overcoming his fear of flying,
Yeah.
and getting there and refusing to ever fly again.
Oh,
So he grows up a little bit in this year and ends up. His question right at the beginning is, where do I belong?
mm,
And so that's the thread that runs through the book, runs through some characters he meets along the line.
mhm.
And well, I've written the end already, but the end is where he suddenly realizes that he knows where he belongs.
Sort of a coming of age story, it sounds like.
Yeah, and he ends up by accident buying home care and garden businesses.
Oh, good.
He bought one, then he bought another one, then he's growing those, and then he ends up getting a huge contract to landscape and maintain a retirement village.
Oh. So does this have any, I mean, I realize that it's fiction, but I'm detecting perhaps a few nuggets of your own experiences in there. You know, you love gardening, the whole New Zealand. I'm assuming, is that where
Well,
you
yeah, I'm a
originally?
New Zealander.
Yeah, yeah.
I am, and my wife, and our children, and so I thought I'd go back there. But there's where the rhododendrons are is an absolutely exciting place that people have built basically on the side of the mountain. There's a
Wow.
lovely there's a lovely mountain in our home province.
Wow.
Looks like Fujiyama, if to give you an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And this place has always been uh, my go-to place, if you put it that way.
Yeah.
And I grew up a lot of before we came to Canada. I spent a lot of time at these gardens as they were being developed
Wow.
from the 50s on. It was a post-war thing, and people dug ditches and planted rhododendrons, and they've come there all over the world. And so it's a very internationally known place now.
Yeah.
So that's why he's there. And so my story really is about this place in a sense, but there's a little bit of fantasy in there. The book is magical realism.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Yay.
And he meets a bird that talks to him,
Hmm.
and he feels the hand of God upon him when this contract that he got for the retirement center. He's walking along a large berm that separates the village from a river valley, and he's walking along the top of that, trying to work out what he's going to plant there, how he will, yeah, plant the berm that will offset the village. And while he's walking along there, he sees a yellowy bloom in the native forest
Hmm.
on the other side of the river. And so he is intrigued by this, and eventually he finds that it is a rhododendron.
Oh, wow. Hmm.
And then by investigating it, he has to go through the cemetery. He finds out after investigating it that it's a tree that he does not know. He takes photographs and that sort of thing. Goes to the man who originally found the tree in Nepal,
Oh, wow.
and it is the missing tree.
So some mystery there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is the missing tree, and he's able to confirm that with the guy that found it. And there's a whole twist in there of how he does that. So
I love hearing you talk about your work, and I'm wondering, is that your other published work, is it similar in that it sort of has elements of fantasy as well, and
um,
sort of fictional fantasy?
the basically I look at them as being people doing people things. They're
Yes.
not mysteries. They're not the last book, Belonging. Um, that was about uh, a man who had polio as a young boy, and who grew up with that in an iron lung, managed to come out, and then had a good life. But then I think he's about 50 or so, it comes back. Post-polio syndrome is
Oh,
a
okay.
real thing.
Hmm.
And so that comes back into the story, and how that develops, that theme basically runs through the whole book, and how he is set on helping people. He has a very large property in the mountains, on the foothills, and it's in Alberta, really.
Oh, okay.
In the foothills, and he resettles people, and they help other people, of course, and heal themselves through his property and through meeting people. And there's a
Hmm.
little bit in there about refugees, a little bit in there about street kids, and how all of that comes into the story. So highly imaginative.
But
But
also with some social awareness and
yeah,
things like that. Wow.
and
Yeah.
then Layers, that was my last book. Layers, it's uh, about a couple who find um, through various reasons, find life on the prairies it's in a ghost town called Dorothy, and Dorothy's a lovely place. That part of Alberta is really gorgeous,
Hmm.
and with the weather we've been having, I've seen a lot of pictures of cactus.
Oh,
growing
wow. Mhm.
because of the weather. And so this couple finds peace there. He builds kit coffins, and they go right across the country. And they open a cafeteria, and of course that's attracts people in, and they're all basically people linked. My
Mm.
stories.
Mhm.
Um,
Very sort of character driven, and it's
yeah,
about the human condition, I guess.
yeah, it is slice of life stuff. No gory details, no sex.
No, hey,
just just good, what I say, good stories, and people enjoy them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if more people wanted to enjoy them, like, do you have a website, or where can people find you?
No, I don't. I had a website and I just could not keep up with it
Right.
and preferred to be writing. So
Yes, well, there you go. Sometimes that's the thing. A person gets so caught up in that
yeah.
aspect of things that you forfeit some of the other creativity time. But I'm assuming they're for sale, like on Amazon and other
Oh
places.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
But
perfect.
I got a lecture from our daughters the other day, and my wife is a beautiful, beautiful artist,
Oh, wow.
and her stuff is 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 has attracted in the past when we were younger a lot of interest,
Mhm.
and sales were good of her art. And the kids got after us the other day that why don't we have a website for her art and for the
And
books
your
and
books. Mhm.
stuff? And I said, feel free.
Yeah. If you want to, go ahead, help us out. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh boy.
but no, her art, and that also inspires me in the books, of course.
Yeah.
Um, and all the covers she designed and built all the covers on the books,
Oh wow.
and it's her art
Wow.
on
Well,
all
I'm
of it.
definitely going to have to look you up now after we're done here, because I'm very intrigued, not just by your descriptions, but also the fact that your wife's art is on the covers too.
Oh, she's lovely. I just, it's so funny. The other day I got an email and I did not know who it was. And normally I refuse to open unknown emails, but
Mhm.
this one, something about it. They said that they had a painting by a Lois F. Connell. Do I know anything about her? So they had a picture that they'd acquired. So I sent a real terse note back, just said, um, send picture to confirm or something like that.
Yeah.
Real untraceable type thing. Well, anyway, I got a note back from the person plus a copy of the picture,
Yeah.
and it's one that Lois did way back in 1983. Interestingly, of the water wheel at the gardens that I'm promoting in my new book.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So this was an absolutely amazing, but the person hasn't told me how they found it or acquired it, which I want to know,
Yeah.
because then we might know it was sold at an exhibition.
Oh wow.
So
Wow. Talk about full circle though. Isn't
yeah,
that interesting?
so that kept us going. You
Yes.
know, just
Wow.
lovely. These things flow through our life, and
Mhm.
I can be stuck in my writing, whether it's an anthology or back at my work, by novel. Um, I can be stuck and I can just go up and watch her with what she's doing.
Yeah.
Oil paintings, she's worked in oils, she's worked in acrylic, she's worked in watercolors,
Yes.
and now she works in color pencil. She's absolutely amazing at it, and sells well, sells off the wall in our house.
Oh, wow.
Person comes in and takes a look around, and off goes a couple of paintings.
Wow. Well, good for her. Good for her.
Yeah,
That's quite an accomplishment. Well, you guys are a couple of you're the creative power couple.
but the way she works really inspires me,
Yeah.
uh, and vice versa. Um,
Yeah.
I can be stuck, and you know, we work together.
That's good. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So I assume that you retired. Did you retire from some other profession before you did a lot of writing, or have you always written?
I've written since I was 17. I'm a newspaper man,
Oh, okay. Hmm.
traditional newspaper man, um, and writer, daily,
Yeah.
deadline writer, you know. But it's always been, as I term, I've written about other people's voices.
Right.
I've written what people have said so that I can put it into a form for the newspaper.
Hmm.
So not a lot of input
Mm.
except to take the words and put them in.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't know about what you might term, I think modern time is free writing.
Right.
So I've always written, not my voice, it's other people's. I wrote when I was in Mobile, I left the newspaper business and went into the oil company and earned some money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Journalists don't earn money.
No.
And so I did that and wrote speeches, wrote public documents and doing that all the time, but always other people's voices.
Mm.
So as a writer, did I have a voice? No, I don't know. So I wrote some thoughts of a memoir based on my time in the Antarctic. I was in the Antarctic for 6 months
Oh, wow.
as a as as a communicator. So I thought I'd write a memoir about that. So I did, and it didn't cost me much because it's got about 100 and something pictures in it as well.
Okay. Hmm.
But that came in 2010, 2011, at which point I was ready to retire.
Hmm.
And my daughter wanted to take over a business that we'd bought, um, because when I retired from the oil company, I bought a print shop.
Oh, okay.
And though I'd never done printing, but been associated with it through my earlier journalism days when we printed with a huge press on paper
Mhm.
and with a whole lot of people with linotype machines and cold type, that sort of era I grew up in. So I was aware of a lot of language. So that's what I did. And I was able to print it myself. So that
Wow.
that got me started in writing, and I found out that, well, yeah, I could do it. So I then wrote a story, and that was my first novel, Dermot,
Oh,
and I loved that book.
yes.
And
I recognize that name actually when I was reading something of
yeah,
yours. Hmm.
but I set that in a very interesting place in the Antarctic that I'd visited and I'd been in, I'd walked in, and I knew, and then I created a story through that.
So the
And
setting is authentic because you've actually been there. And that's not
the
something many
setting is
people say.
authentic. Yeah, I've I've walked in that valley,
Wow.
and so I created Dermot around that. That's an exciting one. I still like that one.
Yeah, well, and that's good. It means I mean, I know for myself, sometimes your own work it is very much almost like a child, right? You take a
Yeah,
lot of time and put a lot of
but
yourself into.
I can reimagine everything my character does, and I just love it.
Wow. Wow. Well, I am intrigued
Yeah,
and definitely I'm gonna head over and check these out to
yeah,
Amazon
that
or
was
somewhere.
That was my first book. What was my second one? Um, oh, that was Uncharted. I got an award for that one.
Oh, what
Um,
kind of an award?
um, Illumination Award. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Um, but it's it's a few years back now.
Hmm.
But that was a very successful book, and still get these publishing wannabes in the States that make phone calls day after day after day,
Hmm.
wanting to sell my book. That's been the most popular one,
Hmm.
and that's about wildflowers.
Oh.
Again, something that Lois and I have done,
Hmm.
and our enthusiasm for wildflowers in a park south of where we live.
Mm.
And we went into finding these flowers in the park, and that ended up being the subject for Uncharted. So again, something we did together and created a lovely novel about that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So did Lois do art for that one as well?
She did the cover. Yep.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. So lovely to talk to you. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate talking to you, Graeme. And as I said, I just loved hearing about some of the other books that you've written and some of your other story, in terms of your writing journey. And it sort of helps to give, I think, a little bit of context to this awesome story that you've written for the anthology,
Well, thank you.
Changing Views. So thank you. Thank you for that.
I
And
read it again and thought, man, what did I write that for? I needed to do this and need to do that. And
oh, well, I'm sure whoever the editing committee seemed to like it. So
yeah,
there
well
you
done.
go. All right. Well, you take care and God
Yep,
bless you. And it was
yep.
lovely to talk to you. Thanks again for joining me on Book Talk with Tracy. As always, I invite you over to my website, which is tracykraus.com. No E in Tracy, two S's in Kraus, where you can find all of my books and plays, as well as other recommendations. Bye for now.